I'd like to welcome our next two guests. First, I'll introduce Miss Claire Bays. She's a local Austin fitness entrepreneur, podcast host, Wellness with Claire, complete badass. Follow her on Instagram. Super impressive. So thank you, Claire. Next up, I'd like to introduce Jake. He's the VP, Vice President of Ways to Well. If you haven't noticed Ways to Well around outside, go visit the Cybertruck. I think it's got the DJ on it. You can get a B12 shot. You can get an IV therapy for hydration as you go into the weekend. But also check out Ways to Well for everything they're doing for hormone therapy, stem cells, a bunch of research as well. So really excited for these new individuals to take it away. So with further ado.
Thank you so much, Luke. And thanks everybody for being here. My background, I came from the AI space where I've spent the last 12 years. I've been on the founding team of 3 startups, all deploying AI applications, mostly within Fortune 500 organizations, more than a dozen Fortune 500 organizations. If any of you use Tide Pods, for example, there's some essences of some chemistry-based AI systems that we developed and used with Procter & Gamble, for example. And I've worked with teams out of Uber to deploy autonomous vehicle routing algorithms that were about 200 times as efficient as some of the routing algorithms currently used. And I'm joined by Claire. Claire and Brigham actually have some similar stories about their journeys, and Ways to Well was founded out of Brigham's, our CEO's journey, personally with the broken system. And as we all know, a system that's really not serving folks. So Claire, you want to do an intro?
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Claire Bays. One, I just want to say thank you guys for choosing to be here. This is a really cool opportunity to get in a room with a bunch of people that I don't typically get to be in a room with. And so just thank you guys. And yeah, so I'm a personal trainer by day here in Austin. I do have a podcast where my fiance on the floor here and I nerd out about different fitness topics each week, and we unpack whatever the latest trend that the guru said that confused you about your fitness journey. We talk through that. And I also have an app where I offer programming and coaching and all that good stuff. And I'm also a patient of Ways to Well. We are both big fans of the work that they do over there. So that's me.
So as we were talking about topics for today, you know, one of the things that's great about Claire is that she sends a lot of patients our way for blood work. And we believe that there are these new non-negotiables when it comes to health. And it's now our responsibility as consumers, as individuals, to really take the initiatives ourselves. And it's unfortunate that we live in a place where the system does not serve us, but that just accelerates our path towards this new off-ramp from the broken system. And so at Ways to Well, what we believe is that we need to continue to create the catapult that will launch the solutions over the wall and help to really propel people's personal health and their ability to navigate complex medicine and science themselves. The approach that we're taking is pairing personalization with the newest technology. I came to Ways to Well as an AI guy to bring artificial intelligence to people's pockets and to pair with our powerful blood work analysis. So when you come to Ways to Well, starting next week, we will have launched our AI-based application. And what that does is it allows patients to really get that deep dive prior to having consultations with our clinicians, who then continue to actually roadmap your journey to peak health. And we are just getting started. When it comes to bringing these types of systems to market, we of course have to operate with a lot of care. There's a lot of bad information, and you probably deal with this every day with your client base, that there's so much poor dissemination. Is that something that you experience?
Yeah, I mean, like, we are in the social media world where we're constantly being given information from the latest guru, like I mentioned, So I think it's a lot of noise, and it's always, for me at least with my clients, is very largely navigating, okay, whatever the latest trend that came across your screen that got you curious about the product that they're trying to sell, or simply that you should be doing this with your training or whatever it is. It's navigating like, let's dig a little bit deeper. Like, what is the source of that information? Were those studies done on humans? Like, we got to take another look deep. So yeah, I very regularly navigate these things. And I mean, from my perspective, I'm dealing with the human element of it. And just like, at the end of the day, most individuals, when it comes to the training bit, which is my world, it's just, what can we be consistent with, So I take it from, I know we're talking about these innovative things and this AI product that he's referencing, which is like so cool. And then from my perspective, it's very largely just navigating that human emotional element and coming back to, okay, what are the actual priorities, and how can we simplify this thing that we're really overcomplicating on repeat? Yeah. So, I mean, do you want to tell more about that product that's being launched next week?
Yeah, when you mentioned simplification, it strikes this chord, because one of the things that may seem very playful to many is that we were the first to launch an interactive avatar on our site that's AI-based, that allows you to have a dialogue and just learn about cutting-edge therapies that we provide at Ways to Well. And you would not believe how many people come to our team and say, man, I spent a half an hour talking to your AI. And we've seen that people really are gravitating toward that. And it seems somewhat gimmicky. Of course, it's very unique. But the fact is that there is this human element to natural language, of course. And we believe that really curating a great digital bedside experience for you is of the utmost importance, and it's something that we lean into because we want to make healthcare fun. If you walk into our office, have you been to our office?
It's a vibe.
When you walk into our office, there's murals, there's, among the therapies that we provide, like stem cells and hyperbaric therapy and red light, there's murals of, 80s vibes and neons, and it's a very playful space. And we take that same approach in the app that we're launching, in that we really want to make it engaging, interactive, and we want people to take away knowledge. We ultimately want people to feel empowered by the tooling that we're creating. And then we want to create more empowerment through artificial intelligence with what's called agent fleets. So agentic AI systems, maybe by a show of hands, have you guys heard of agent-based systems by chance? So we have about a dozen folks here. It's where it gets really exciting, because all of the personalization that happens programmatically for any of the apps that you use is really just based on what's called static personalization, meaning if-then statements. So the computer will look at you and say, okay, if you satisfied these things, then deliver this personalization that matches this. And they'll do that to every user until they update their software. And we're taking a fundamentally different approach. We want to create a dynamic system that uses personalization that's adaptive. And so we can create that with artificial intelligence. So for example, if you have a gluten allergy, you have high lipids, and you have some issues with your testosterone, for example, then you're going to get recommendations now based on research we cultivate now on your behalf, but then creating these agent fleets where you have one worker doing a job for you. And that job is just to research every day, what are some new ways I can mix it up on this to improve? What are some new pieces of literature that come out that relate to this that I should know about? And how do you create this dynamic personalization that's on all the time and available to you? And this is the fundamental framework that we're building upon with Ways to Well, that will continue to launch updates with our app from now forward.
And I guess I love that you can go back in and have a conversation with it again, just because, at least for me, being a human, I'm only going to absorb so much. And I'm probably only really going to focus on whatever the biggest issue for me is right that moment. I'm going to focus the most energy there. And so then, like, the idea that this is a place where you can return back to have more conversations with this AI figure and so on is just really it's really cool because you can dive deeper. And then if I take that back over, I know I've said a lot about what are gurus saying and so on. You're probably like, well, what do you even think? And so with training, it's the same thing. Like it's a progression, right? Like if we absorb 1% from our training every single time, we get 1% better. Like that compounds and we'll make tremendous progress, right? But and that's a time consuming endeavor, but we're living and we've got to do it. So as far as the fitness bit, and I am curious, I guess I just kind of want to ask, does anybody, like a show of hands, who currently has any sort of resistance training exercise routine that they actively do? That's a good number of us. That's awesome. And so now if we go into my world of the day to day training your physical body, there's a lot of different ways that we can go about that. And your preference, what you enjoy showing up to, is a really, really key priority there, right? Because there's so many different ways that we can achieve health and fitness. But the base level for me today, based on what literature is available and so on, is if you train with me, you're resistance training. And we can figure out what flavor of that you like best and the frequency and so on. And there can be a lot of variance with that. But in general, when I'm looking at why do we exercise, well, we want to have a high quality of life, right? Like we want to exercise because we want to enjoy the experience in this body. Maybe it fuels, hopefully for all of us, it fuels our ability to show up for our values in life. Like some of my values would be service. Well, I'm able to better be of service to others if I take care of this thing that I exist in. I'll go with one that's less altruistic. Fun, that's a priority to me, right? And so same thing, I'm going to have more fun if I like this thing I exist in, if I enjoy existing in it. And so when I think of health and fitness and training, I want to be durable for life. And then if we talk about misconceptions and so on that are out there, I think one of the ones that we certainly nerd out on a lot is all the different information of don't do this and be wary of this, and if you move like that you're going to get hurt, whatever. And it's like we need to progress things in a safe manner. We don't want to just go and try to do something really aggressive straight out of the gate. However, we're not made of cardboard. We're quite durable creatures and we're adaptable. And so with training, I would say baseline is we know now there's enough information to say that muscle is the organ of longevity. At the end of the day, the more lean mass you have on your body, the better prepared you are whenever you get injured or ill, which are big issues for us, right? Those two things are going to cause us big problems. So we want to be jacked. And so if we want to be jacked, we need to learn a thing or two about how to gain muscle. And that being said, then we're in this optimization world, right? And so it's like, well, what's the perfect dosage? How frequently, how many reps and sets? And we can nerd out on that stuff, and it's fun to do. And yet, I have many clients that train 2 times a week resistance training, and outside of that, they just go for walks, whatever. And I consistently see them gain access to greater ranges of motion, greater strength, greater capacities in life. And so it's like, yeah, sure, maybe you already have that and you want to take it to the next level. Love that. But it also doesn't have to be this crazy thing to also positively impact your quality of life. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, on the topic, it's just so back to keeping it simple. It's just doing something and having some positive step forward is the incentive structure that I think so many of us want to propel, whether it's coaching personally or building something in technology. I think there's some things about when people ask me, are robots gonna take over the world and is AI gonna kill everyone? You have to create these what's called reward functions in an AI system that the AI system is trying to optimize for at all times. And I think so many of us are trying to split hairs over things while not optimizing just for getting in the gym and doing the minimum amount. And there's some great science out there about resistance training recently about the frequency and how often you have to go to the gym. And we want to create these positive reinforcements for people to just get some action, get some positive movement, and create our reward function for our algorithms around your health, your happiness, your progress, your engagement, and how much you're learning and what types of questions you're asking so that you can evolve as a knowledgeable person so that you do feel empowered to take those steps toward your progress. People are taking note of this movement. I think we've been a part of the RFK Maha movement. It's something that we feel very passionate about, is that being in a broken system and just complaining about it is not where we seek to be. We seek to make change, work with thought leaders to bring about proposed updates to the system, whether it's from discretionary guidelines with the FDA around peptides, or, there's been, you can see already, I don't know if you guys know this, but just I think in the last 2 weeks, testosterone just now got changed from being a substance that the FDA had claimed, put you at risk for heart attack and stroke. And that was since 2007. So it took almost 20 years to actually get that out of the science. And it just stems back to the same old thing where it's like, the system's not serving us. We need to break away. We need to take control ourselves. And I think that's the only way forward. So our digital front door for everyone is comprehensive blood work. We feel like that's the new non-negotiable, is everyone should be testing their blood work, seeing where they're at, getting a baseline, and getting some direction on what they could do. We have patients that are trying to get pregnant, that they get their blood work done. They've been doing fertility treatments. They start just really trying to get all their markers to a place that's in somewhere near optimal, and then they have a more fertile body for reproducing, and they get pregnant as a result. We also have people that see upstream cancer, and this year have launched a cancer detection test. Have you seen this?
I have not seen that, no.
We launched a cancer detection test that has $80 million in R&D behind it, and it can detect cancer at stage 0. And so now people every 5 years or so can test to see if they have any circulating tumor cells in their bloodstream. And they're going to be able to detect cancer at stage 0, which has a 99.9% survival rate. And although it's expensive, the average now is stage 4. And typically that's too late. It's not a good way to have a system operating. The thing that we have to work on at Ways to Well is really bringing the price down. We have to continue to get scale. And as a business that's growing 100% year over year, we're certainly trying to create scale and create volume and create enough to continue to drive prices down. That's our commitment and part of our mission.
I love it. The thing that I definitely, so the cancer thing, that's really interesting, because obviously that's a huge focus. I mean, that's a, if you could know about that early, that's what I did not know that. For me with Ways to Well, one of the cool things with their blood work was, so I, for a year, lived in an apartment that had 5 different varieties of mold, and I got really sick. And I didn't know that, obviously I didn't knowingly do so, but I got progressively more ill. Thankfully, I finally discovered why I was being ill, and I've been removed from that environment for about 9 months now. But after I found that, I had already been doing blood work just to kind of check in, but that's another service that I went to Ways to Well for. And I think that that's just like such a helpful tool to be able to go get, and I've had blood work done elsewhere as well, and also had it done at Ways to Well. And I was satisfied, because I'm very, why are you telling, like, I've had blood work done elsewhere and been prescribed things that weren't sufficiently explained to me, in my opinion. And then I'm always looking at, like, what's the long term here? Like, say that I take whatever it is that you tell me I should take at this juncture to fix this thing that you found. What's my long term plan? Am I just on this indefinitely? Is the dosage going to have to go up? What's happening? And I personally, in my experience with Ways to Well, I felt like the practitioner did a good job of making recommendations that I felt were most natural, which was preferable to me, and that were actionable based on what was going on with me, considering that my immune system and some other stuff was really taking a beating for a season. So I just love what you guys do.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I do want to open it up to Q&A. I think before I do that, I think that one of the things I would also, we get the misconceptions of it all. So with physical training, another thing that if you are someone who has your routine already in place, the challenge I would give you is, like, so I like to think of in training, this trajectory of like mobility, stability, strength. And I think a lot of people are really focused on mobility, which is amazing, right? Like getting more mobile, access to greater ranges of motion, that's an increase in your quality of life. So is being stable in those positions, right? So are we also working our stability, and then are we getting stronger? And I think that, at least in my opinion, with training, you can nail all three really well with a good program, so that you don't have to just, because mobility would be just like access to the range of motion, maybe passively. Like I could just stretch up against the wall or something like that, right? But what if I could get in that position and I could hold that position? Or what if I could load that position and hold that position? I am now a more durable human. And at the end of the day, life is going to put our bodies in positions that we don't want to be in here and there. And the more durable we are, the better off we are. And so that's another thing I felt like bringing up. But do you want to go Q&A, or what do you want to?
Let's do it.
Yeah?
Hi, I'm Michelle, and I have a general question on what is the industry thinking right now about plant-based eating in terms of fitness and health, and maybe how ways to, well, like, is there an intersection, or how you recommend clients kind of approach that?
I'm full disclosure, I'm an AI guy, not a nutritionist. I think our team certainly takes an approach that's hyper personalized. So for some people, of course, plant-based is great. I think a lot of people swear that it's the only way. I think the research is somewhat split depending on who you ask. But I certainly think that there's a place for plant-based, and I think our team feels the same way and has certainly done plant-based protocols for folks as a recommendation based on their medical history, their personal situation, what's working for them. And for a lot of people, the microbiome testing is a really great way to start to understand, as well as food allergy testing, two testing vehicles that we use for people. So we're going to continue to look at that in addition to adjunct therapies that we're introducing as well. So hyperbaric has actually anecdotally shown really nice impact on microbiome, believe it or not. So hyperbaric doesn't seem, you wouldn't think it, but there are some anecdotal evidence of very good response from 60 days of hyperbaric chamber therapy with microbiome proliferation. So I think that there's, many ways that you can slice it, but depending on what works for you. I'm never going vegan, but for somebody that is having some problems, I think there's certainly a place for it.
Hi, I'm Phoebe. I just had a physical where I basically had to fight with the doctor to get some blood work done because I was curious to get my data. And she was basically like, you're a healthy young woman, you don't need blood work done. Why are you asking for this? And I basically ended up making up, hereditary diseases in my family so that she could run those tests without, charging me extra money that my insurance wouldn't cover. So I'm wondering how you think about how something like blood work and Ways to Well is impacting how doctors are treating patients and patients are asking things of doctors and all of that.
Yeah, that experience is, I think at this point, 95+%. If you ask your doctor to pull the panel that we pull, most of the time they simply will not do it. They may tell you to your face that they'll do it and then not do it. They may just refuse to do it. And a fun fact about that is that originally, Ways to Well, before it was Ways to Well, there was a company founded by Brigham also that was blood labs and proactive testing and educating doctors on how to do proactive testing and some of these pharmacogenetics tests and methyl detox profiles that people very much benefit from the awareness that they get and the understanding of their personal body, their DNA, their epigenetics from those tests. And after doctors took hold, they started getting letters from the insurers saying that the insurance, which is their revenue stream, of course, was going to drop them because they were ordering unnecessary tests. And this is why Ways to Well does not accept insurance, because your doctor simply, whether you say it this way or not, what we say is that they're just not allowed to do it. They may do it for a couple people, they may start to do it for more people, but they're going to get a letter from insurance, and the insurance is going to threaten their livelihood, and then they're going to stop. And this cycle is never going to end. And so we have to we have to think about things differently. What I will say, and I think that there's light at the end of the tunnel here, is that the cost of testing, you can watch this in Quest Diagnostics stock price, you can look at LabCorp stock price. It's taking off and the cost is being driven down. And since we started doing this, we've lowered the price of the cost of blood work by almost half. And so we're very excited about economies of scale in this space, as people start to take and grasp this and incorporate it at least once or twice a year. It's really going to continue to drive the cost down. This is the future. AI is going to continue to drive the cost down because 50% of our patients probably won't need a consult in 2 years with a practitioner, and that's going to drive the cost down significantly. And that's why we're so focused on building, is because we are passionate about making this cost effective for the masses and taking care of people.
Hi, I'm Luke. Nice to meet you both. What's the best way for each of you for someone to get started with Ways to Well or working with you, Claire?
Yeah, with Ways to Well, the best way to get started for anybody is to sign up for comprehensive blood work. You'll get 75 markers measured. You'll have a one-to-one consult with a clinician. And if you purchase, let's say Friday of next week, we're launching our app next week. And so keep an eye out for when we launch and then purchase after that date. And then you'll have access to our new app that launches next week. So that's the best way to get started with us. And then from there, our team will develop out your personal protocol and you'll be on your way.
The app is really cool. Okay. As far as thank you. And as far as, since you're physically here, if you want to have a conversation after this, just get with me. But I've got a few different options. I post a decent amount on Instagram, and then I have a podcast as well. The podcast you can find on YouTube. It's just Conversations with Claire. Revolutionary, I know. And then my name is my handle online. It's just Claire Bays, ClaireBays. And then from there, if you know right now that you just want to go straight into apply for coaching, then you just go to ClaireBaysCoach.com. You would click on one-on-one personalized program, and then you just fill out some questions, and then I would reach out to you directly about whether or not you want to train in person here together or you want programming online. I also offer meal plans, a number of different things as well. So there's a lot going on there.
All right, I have a two-part question. What is the next arena in like home health, similar to like your blood pressure cuffs, blood glucose, and the second part is how far out are we going to be able to do at-home blood work testing similar to those other devices?
Yeah, the field's progressing, I would say, relatively quickly. Right now, you can't do a 75 marker test without having several vials, but it is progressing. I think the most markers is something like 25, maybe 35 at this point today, some that I don't know about, but it's progressing nicely. We will introduce some at-home testing for spot checks on things like hormones in the future, for sure. Right now, sort of embedded in our DNA is the comprehensive, holistic nature of the testing that we do, because we feel like we've just seen so many. We used to allow patients to bring their own blood work, and they wouldn't have as good of results because you may be missing something. You may not have tested magnesium, which is responsible for 300 different downstream processes in your body, for example, including breaking down vitamin D. So I think there's sort of this staunch stance that our team takes in being comprehensive that at home doesn't quite allow today. I think the pace, though, at which at-home anything, wearable anything is progressing is so rapid, and we're so hopeful and optimistic at this space. Of course, we spend our life, trying to be on the cutting edge of bringing different therapeutics to the table and vehicles, and as we continue to fuel our growth, we're excited to continue to bring in new technologies like that and fund research and bring in exciting new technologies in the future. You know, Brigham talks a lot about having a pill every day that you take that just sort of picks up data from you. That's an interesting concept. I think it will come. And right now, what we're focused on is incorporating wearables data as our next sort of step in gathering personalized insights for you, and then synthesizing that with your habits and being able to understand your behaviors better to better personalize roadmaps for you for the future.